Hey, it's Leo. Welcome to my channel. Today I'll be doing my June wrap-up and talking about the books I read in June. Each week on my channel, I lift up a different nonprofit that's doing good work in the world. I'll make a donation and encourage you to like, follow, share, or donate as you are inspired. This week, in anticipation of my birthday coming up, I am actually going to share the link to my fundraiser for AIDS Walk Northwest. AIDS Walk Northwest is a fundraiser of the Cascade AIDS Project and is a way to raise funds and awareness to help bring about the end of HIV transmission and to support those living with or affected by HIV. If you'd like, please feel free to donate. Again, I'll be making a donation. This time it's for my birthday, but I would be honored if you would join me in this work to end stigma and to help those affected by HIV. It is really important to me and I know important to many. So if you'll join me in this fight, that would be amazing. Thank you. All right, let's get to the June wrap up. In June, I had a goal of 11 books and I got through the half of the last two, but I didn't actually finish them in June. That's okay. So I finished 9 books in June, and that's great. I think it was a pretty okay reading month in terms of my enjoyment, so I'm pleased with that. First book I want to talk about is A Year Without a Name by Cyrus Dunham. This was recommended by the Feminist Book Club. This is the memoir of Cyrus Grace Dunham about their journey of gender identity and discovery and grappling with what their identity means to them. It's hard to give a star rating to a memoir this basically is like a diary of one of probably the hardest years of their life. It didn't resonate with me, and so I am gonna give this book a 3.5 star, 3 star, but I think it really resonated for a lot of folks. I struggled to feel engaged with it and was kind of frustrated until the end when I really began to feel connected and more sympathetic towards the character. Maybe that's just, we just don't resonate with everyone's writing. That was my experience, but I'd love to know if you read this and what your experience with this book was. The next book I read was Fortune Favors the Dead by Stephen Spotswood. It was also shortlisted for one of the Dagger Awards this year. It's a murder mystery, the first in the Parker and Pentecost series. This book had queer rep that I enjoyed. It had circus rep, I guess you could say. So Willow Jean Parker is the narrator. She has run away from home prior to the start of the story, and so she's been living with the circus for 5 years and learning different skills such as knife throwing or other various skills in the circus. So the book is set in 1942 in New York, and Willow Jean Parker winds up running into Lillian Pentecost at this job scene that turns into then a confrontation, and Willow Jean, or she goes by Will, uses her knife throwing skills to get them out of the jam. That leads to the beginning of a relationship between Will and Lillian Pentecost, who is a private investigator. I don't know why it took a little bit for me to get into, but then there was this moment where it just turned in like I was sucked in. I enjoyed the plot twists. I appreciated the depiction of Lillian Pentecost as this woman who has basically run her own business and is quite capable. That character has multiple sclerosis. As someone who doesn't live with multiple sclerosis, I can't speak to whether or not the author did a good job of sensitively and accurately portraying that experience, but it seemed good representation, and I really enjoyed getting to know the different characters. It was less serious than some of the other murder mysteries that I've read, a little bit more on the cozy side. I would recommend it, and I'd love to know if you read it and what you think of it too. The third book I read this month was The Hollow Boy by Jonathan Stroud. This was also the third book in the series of Lockwood & Co. It's the story of Lucy, George, and Anthony as they are teens, paranormal investigators in this kind of alternative London where ghosts are around and killing people. And I did enjoy it. As I mentioned in my last video, I enjoyed book 2 better than book 3. I liked the mystery and adventure, and I really enjoyed the storytelling. I was definitely engaged, but I was also just really annoyed and or related too much to the whole dynamic of Lucy feeling left out because the boys like the new girl and they don't pay attention to her anymore and all of that. And that was just a little bit too much angst for me. Maybe that's par for the course for this genre. I'd love to know, I mentioned last time in the comments too, I'd love to know if you've read The Hollow Boy and what you think of it, or if you've read the rest of the series. The next book I read, I gave 5 stars. That was Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. It's a romance, had great characters, great storyline. I appreciated that the characters in the romance, that it wasn't a toxic relationship. I laughed out loud multiple times. There's disability rep. The protagonist is a plus size Black woman, and I thought that was done really well, and it was nice to see. And I've seen other reviewers comment about this too, but how it was nice that her size wasn't like any source of self-loathing or plot points or anything. It was just mentioned a few times that that was part of her characteristics, and so I thought it was really good. So Get a Life, Chloe Brown, 5 stars. There's 2 other books I think at least in the series of the Brown sisters for each of the other sisters, and their romance. So I'll probably check those out as well. The next book I read was on the recommendation of Greg at Supposedly Fun, and I definitely enjoyed it. It's also a National Book Award finalist, as I can see from this little sticker here. This is a series of short stories in which the women all have some sort of connection to the church. I'm just going to read the synopsis on the back. I think that'll be helpful. The Secret Lives of Church Ladies explores the raw and tender places where Black women and girls dare to follow their desires and pursue a momentary reprieve from being good. The 9 stories in this collection feature 4 generations of characters grappling with who they want to be in the world, caught as they are between the church's double standards and their own needs and passions. There is 14-year-old Jael who has a crush on the preacher's wife. At 42, Lyra realizes that her discomfort with her own body stands between her and a new love. As Y2K looms, Carlotta's same time next year arrangement with her childhood best friend is tenuous. A serial mistress lays down the ground rules for her married lovers. In the dark shadows of a hospice parking lot, grieving strangers find comfort in each other. With their secret longings, new love, and forbidden affairs, these church ladies are as seductive as they want to be, as vulnerable as they need to be, as unfaithful and unrepentant as they care to be, and as free as they deserve to be. So I really enjoyed this. I definitely recommend it, and I give it 4 stars. The next book I read, I've loaned to my mother, so I will just have to show the picture here. It's Lessons Learned by Arnie Graff, Stories from a Lifetime of Organizing. I give this book 5 stars. This book was recommended to me by my mentor. Arnie Graff was an organizer and a supervisor for the Industrial Areas Foundation, which is a community organizing group. And he talks about the 5 principles of community organizing and relates them through different stories in like Baltimore, San Antonio, Washington, D.C., Boston, and London, and how those played out. I really enjoyed this, partly because it gave me just a lot of sense of hope of seeing what can happen when people come together to make change for the common good. There were also just some really good history pieces to learn about like the different struggles in different parts of the country and what challenges people face in their day-to-day life that then they tried to address or talk about in this book. So if community organizing is something that you're interested in, or if you appreciate hearing stories of how people come together to change the world, I definitely recommend this one. The next book I read in June was Writing the Other, A Practical Approach by Nisi Shaw and Cynthia Ward. This book I read as part of a workshop that I took with Writing the Other, where Nisi Shaw was one of the instructors. It was a weekend intensive. The intensive workshop, which was all online, was Writing the Other, Creating Diverse Characters. I'll put a link down below in case you're interested in the other course offerings that they have. They have courses on writing trans characters, writing deaf and blind characters, Native American characters, how to do all of that respectfully and well. And that also, as part of that your characters are not only are they more accurate and respectful, but they're more interesting, richer. I recommend them to you. And this book was good. The first half had some exercises. There's also just some good exploration pieces of why this work is important and how we can kind of think about this, especially as we think about the default lens by which we view other characters, or view other people in the world, etc. I'll give this 4.5 stars and recommend this to you. The next book I read was Dreadnought by April Daniels. This is the origin story of the Dreadnought character, in which a trans woman is kind of gifted this superpower. And as part of her transformation from a regular person into a superhero, her body also transformed, mostly where her body transitions for her. She's a teenager, so she's still living at home with an abusive father and a not very supportive mother, and she's been hiding her transness from them. But obviously then once her body has transformed, then she can't be in the closet any longer. At first, I really loved this book. There were some parts where I laughed, really loved some good dialogue, and I hate to rate this low. I'm gonna give it like a 3.5 star. There was one scene that was just really incredibly uncomfortable with the ableist taunts towards a villain character that just made me really uncomfortable, and possibly the author didn't realize that that's what she was doing. The character lives with this really abusive father and has really internalized a lot of the I'm a piece of shit inner monologue. And I will say though that I wanted the character to let go of that sooner. It got a little bit too much to hear just the oh, I'm worthless, I'm a piece of shit, I'm worthless inner monologue. But I'm sure that for some people that story will really resonate with them and they'll really connect with that. For me, it didn't, and then when you add the ableist scene, I just have a hard time recommending it. But it may be something that you enjoy. The last book I read in June, I definitely recommend. That's The Widows of Malabar Hill by Sujata Massey. This mystery is set in Bombay in 1921. Perveen Mistry is the daughter of this lawyer, and she has also gone to law school and is the first woman lawyer in Bombay. As part of her law firm's work, she finds this case where these 3 wives of this man who recently died, they have submitted this request to give all of their inheritance basically to this trust. She's unsure if this is actually what the women would want, to give all of their livelihood away. And so she decides to go and meet with them. And because she is a woman, she's able to meet with these 3 women who are living in seclusion and then kind of dig into things further. Then there's another murder, and then things ensue. The book also presents there's a kind of a suspicious character at the beginning that she keeps mentioning, is that who it is? Or I'm worried about running into this person. And then the storyline actually flashes back and forth between 1923 and I think 1917, where we learn in pieces a little bit more about who this other character is and some of the things about her own journey in life that kind of really add some depth. And I just thought it was really handled well. I really appreciated this. Felt like the pacing was pretty good. I loved her journey of kind of coming into her own in the law firm, and also, kind of becoming this murder mystery solver, this advocate for the women. I thought it was really well done. So 5 stars, and I recommend this one. Well, that's all I have for June. Hopefully you had a good reading month in June as well. And by the time I'm filming this and then talking about it, I'm in the middle of my July reading month. So I'm hoping that your July reading month is going well as well. Is also going well. I also mentioned that I'm doing NaNoWriMo this month. So far, not doing so great. But, we'll see. Hopefully I can turn that around and get to 50,000 words by the end of July for draft 2 of my novel. So wishing you all a wonderful day, a wonderful reading month, and don't forget you're awesome.